You have been watching everyone else check boxes that you haven't checked yet. The wedding, the promotion, the house, the child. And something quiet inside you keeps a tally. Not with anger, but with a low, steady ache. Like you are always arriving just after the party has moved on. You are not the only one who has felt this. But here is something almost nobody says out loud. Most of the people who arrived on time were also following a schedule they never wrote. This is a story about Margaret, a woman who spent 44 years running late, until the morning she finally understood why. Welcome to the silent lesson. Margaret was 28 when she attended her best friend's wedding. She was the last unmarried woman at the table. She smiled in all the photos. She gave a speech that made people cry. And on the train home alone, heels in her lap, city lights blurring past the window, she opened a small notebook and wrote a private list. Married by 32. Career stable by 30. House by 35. She closed the notebook, told herself she was just being practical, and believed it. Her 30s were a decade of revision. She left her marketing job at 31 to become a teacher, a decision that felt brave and terrifying in equal measure. She moved to a new city at 33. She started over, quietly, again at 36. Each time she told herself she was adjusting the plan. But the notebook was still there, and every year she opened it and rewrote the same list. Just with newer, later dates. The deadlines kept moving forward. She kept moving too. But the gap between where she was and where she was and where she was supposed to be never seemed to close. She met Daniel at a dinner party when she was 38. He was quiet in the way that people are when they have learned to listen before they speak. They were both late arrivals to the party, both cautious. Both carrying years of false starts they hadn't quite stopped apologizing for. She told him on their third date that she was probably too old to start a family. He was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "I'm not worried about when. I'm just glad it's you." She didn't know how to hold that. She wrote it down later in a different notebook, one without deadlines. Margaret had her daughter at 41. In the delivery room, all chaos and exhaustion and sudden, flooding relief. She had one clear thought. I spent so many years afraid I had missed this. Clara was placed in her arms. The thought dissolved. But the world kept time even when Margaret stopped counting. At Clara's first birthday, she looked around the room at her friends' children, some of them nearly teenagers. And the old ache returned, briefly, quietly. She was still the last one, just at a different milestone. Ruth lived 3 houses down and was 80 years old. She had published her first novel at 72, learned to drive at 60, left her marriage of 25 years at 58, a decision she described, without drama, as the best one I almost didn't make. Margaret met her on an autumn morning in the shared garden between their buildings. Ruth was on her knees, pressing tulip bulbs into dark soil. "Do you know if they'll come up?" Margaret asked. Ruth looked up without stopping. "They always do. They just need the right season." She handed Margaret a bulb, small, unremarkable, dry as a stone in winter. "Plant it," she said, "and stop trying to hurry spring." There is a difference between a clock and a season. A clock tells you that you are late. A season tells you that something is still growing, underground, in the dark, in ways you cannot yet measure. Margaret did not miss anything. Every pivot, every false start, every year she spent with her revised notebook, it was preparation she mistook for delay. Something was being built in her that could only be built through the particular sequence of events she lived, not a different sequence, that one. Admiration says, look at what they have already built. Comparison says, look at what you still haven't done. One of those opens a window. The other slowly convinces you that your life is a problem to be solved, rather than a path to be walked. Margaret is 44 now. Clara is 3 and obsessed with the garden. On a Saturday morning in October, Margaret kneels beside her daughter in the dirt, while Ruth, nearby, teaches Clara the names of the bulbs, holding each one up slowly, saying the word, watching Clara repeat it with complete seriousness. Margaret watches her daughter's hands in the dark soil, small and uncertain, and completely unafraid of being late. She thinks, if I had arrived earlier, I would have been a different person. I would not have had this. Not this exact morning. Not this light. Not these hands. You cannot want the destination without the road that brought you here. Tell me in the comments, just one word. What is something you thought was too late that turned out to be exactly on time? If you know someone who needs permission to stop running, send this to them. No explanation needed. They will understand. And if you want more of these quiet lessons, stay with the silent lesson.